welcome back to another awesome how-to video. You guys seen in the title of the video. Today we're going to be doing our knuckle replacement. So right here I have a previous knuckle that was damaged, and I'm just going to show you guys. We do have a few different pieces on here. So the knuckle itself, this whole assembly right here, has some main steering components, which is our lower control arm, our strut area where the bolts go into, and then our other area right here is the tie rod. And the tie rod end had snapped off. So we also have our speed sensor hole right here, and then our main one, which is our hub bearing, and all that goes together into your knuckle. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys a few components over here on how to do everything. Now there is some other videos how we install the coilovers on here, so it's super simple how to do all that. We'll be taking apart the screws here, which in my case I do have aftermarket coilovers, so about size 15, 17 sockets. And then we are going to be removing this one down here, and then the brake calipers as well. So these are two 19s right here to remove the caliper itself as one whole unit. And then right here the tie rod end is going to be a 16. Make sure you have an L key right here, size 5, and the size 5 L key for the speed sensor if you're doing this on the Fiat 500 Abarth. Alright guys, so the first step is to jack up the vehicle. Now in this case, like I said, we're on coilovers. The car is pretty low. We have to aim it just enough where the rear shock lives at. Once that's just on there, praying that it doesn't slip off, and we can put the jack stand underneath the back to jack up the front of the car. So my client that I detail his cars had let me, well, I actually scratched his fender instead. My client had let me use his DeWalt, and this thing's an absolute monster. Instantly, like a NASCAR.
Pit stop.
And that's what we're going to be using to let's get this wheel off. And put it to the side. First things first, we're going to try to loosen up this area right here. Then we're going to take the axle nut off after. This is a 36 millimeter. I recommend using a thin wall because you can see all the rust right over here. We're just going to hammer it in there and then knock it off. Alright guys, so this is why they always say change out your axle nuts when you do axle work. So the nut that we were using, the socket, is a 36 millimeter. However though, this is a thicker wall. So you need a thin wall socket, which is something like this. My client had let me borrow this one. This is a 34. In inches, it's a 1/4 3/8, or 1 inch and 3/8. So this big one is equivalent to a 34. Now when we were hammering this guy in, you can see the difference between the walls. This one had shaved down the nut ever so slightly to a 34 size. So I was able to just pound it in there, make it fit, give it a good ugga-dugga. And this is meant for axles. You can tell because look how thick that is. This is a 1/4 inch, and this one right here makes that thing look like a little baby. So now we are going to take out the brake calipers, and it's funny, we haven't done brake calipers since maybe 2 years since we got this car, and then again it hasn't ran most of its life, so Fiats, right? So if you haven't seen our brake video that we did for these R1 concept rotors, it's going to be that 19 down there and then that one around there. So I'm going to loosen those two up, and I'll see you guys when I get the caliper off. Alright, so we actually got our 17 millimeter and our monkey wrench in the back, and a little abracadabra, and she should be off. There we go. Some slight slipping and some bolt stripping, but it's alright. So now we've got our strut apart. We're going to move this part here, which should be a 16, but we're going to take it off with our 17. Why not? Right now we're in a good spot to go ahead and remove this bolt. With the way how everything is, we got this unloosened. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jack it up just a little bit right here, just so we can get enough alignment with this one so we can remove our sway bar end link. Alright guys, so it's a little risky. Car's already been taken apart, but we have our 36 millimeter socket, and we're just going to carefully lower it onto the socket. Just like that. And that's the best jack stand ever. So now we're gonna go ahead and get right underneath this thing into our control arm area. And I want to remove our sway bar end link first because this thing has a lot of tension on it because of the spring. So when this car stops wobbling, there we go. Took forever, but now that's off. So now we can carefully go back and lower everything. All right, so now we're gonna get our tie rod end link right here, and we're gonna knock that one off. So get in there, lefty loosey, righty tighty. Everything was sprayed with WD-40. So WD-40 sends something. No, I'm kidding. It's crazy how loose these tie rod end links are. So to get this tie rod off, the best way to do it is kind of not hit it directly, indirectly, and then we're gonna get our nut, flip it the other direction so we don't mushroom out our threads, and then we're just gonna give it a couple wings. So just like that, guys, we've got our tie rod out. So now with our tie rod out, we're gonna leave our top bolts right here. Those two are gonna be left inside. Now we're gonna be going underneath and getting our control arm. This one's gonna be a little tricky, and the best way to do this is to get the axle out. We're gonna get these bolts off, and then once the axle's removed, we're gonna be able to set that puppy to a side and literally jack this thing up and off of the lower control arms. There we go. Sweet. Just go ahead and thwack our axle out. Actually, let's get these bolts out first. There we go. Pull this out, and we get our axle out. Stubborn car. All that rust and grime being on here. I go ahead and take our 5mm Allen wrench, go right behind here on our speed sensor, and knock the nut off first. And then it's kind of tricky to get this guy off. Don't tug by the wire, but we're gonna just wiggle and jiggle until it comes off completely. Right underneath it, carefully wiggle and pry, wiggle and pry, wiggle and pry, and try not to cry. Boop, just like that. That's out. Now comes the fun part, getting our axle out without dislocating the CV joints. There we go. And slide that puppy to the side. Slide it to the side and go right inside. Whoa, hey, when you are jacking up, try not to jack up too far under, because you don't want to touch that control arm, since that's the piece that you're trying to knock out. Go to me. Just like that, guys. Super easy job. Kind of difficult. I would say maybe a 6 out of 10. Really helps out to have the right tools. Impact wrench. So now, sum it up for you guys. 12mm to remove the brake studs, which hold it onto place. 17 to remove our lug nuts. Flipping to the back side of the water. Well, can't forget the 36 thin wall socket and your impact driver. And then of course going to the back side of the water. So our lower control arm right over here is a size 18mm, and a monkey wrench just to hold down the bolt, knock it off. Our tie rod end link is going to be a 16, but I use a 17. As long as you have the impact wrench, knock it off, no problem. Our brake calipers are going to be a 19mm, and our two bolts up here were going to be a 17, and also a monkey wrench holding it on. So all of it's fairly simple. Can't forget, of course, our sway bar end link, which is also a 17, and then our speed sensor, which is a 5mm Allen key. All that just to take the whole knuckle assembly off. It looks like a war zone in here for sure. Not too bad of a job, guys. So any questions, comments, anything like that, comment down below, guys. Let me know if you need any kind of help with the whole replacement. If you do slip this axle out of its place, Just simply wiggle it until you feel it knock back into place. Try not to bang any boots. But that's how you take off a knuckle with our wheel bearing, which this one's a little rough. You can hear it. So definitely wheel bearing replacement will have to be needed in due time. As always guys, stay safe and stay chill.